Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this month in Dragalia Lost for the month of July 2020. This is when Director Okada gives us a notice board of things to come in the current month, and often teases a couple things that are planned for the future of the game as a whole. I'm excited to be making this video today since it's been a couple weeks since I released any content. I decided to take a break from the internet, from Discord and YouTube. I was logging into Dragalia Lost just to do my dailies and kind of maintain my account, but otherwise have pretty much been away from the game for a while now, so I figured while things are kind of quiet this week, it'd be a good time to release a video, since I have a feeling things are going to get pretty busy in Dragalia Lost next week, and this way we can kind of have some time together to catch up, see what I may have missed, and give you some impressions on the event, the banners that have taken place, the new mana spirals, and so on. So I hope you've been well in this past couple weeks. I was just here at home, just decided I could use a little break, and I saw that Log was back, so I figured y'all would have some good videos to watch in the meantime. So it kind of worked out nicely, but I also happened to have a couple of weeks off work, and I figured if I really want to make that into a vacation, I probably should stop making videos for a little while. So anyway, let's get into this month in Dragalia Lost. Alright, hello, Yuji Okada here, Director of Dragalia Lost. I want to start by thanking you for playing Dragalia Lost. In June, we added Chapter 14 to the main campaign, added a new flame-attuned boss, Ayaha and Atoha, to the Agito Uprising, and held a new facility event, Rhythmic Resolutions. I hope you're enjoying these additions. As those who played Chapter 14 of the main campaign will know, a new adventurer joins your party when you clear the chapter. Yes, we do know that. I guess the limit on spoilers for that is probably nearing its end now, so hopefully you've played through Chapter 14. There's also Gala Dragalia that is currently live, in addition to Princess Shell's Shadow-attuned Pact-bound Dragon, Gala Cat Sith. This showcase features water-attuned adventurers Eugene and Catherine, as well as water-attuned Dragon Styx. So just to be clear, the Gala Dragalia is over now. I'm just reading this later, so that's why it says it's currently live, but we will discuss some of the Gala characters pretty soon here. If you've played Ayaha and Atoha's Wrath on Expert difficulty, then you may have already seen it, but during the battle, the two will merge into a single entity. Check out this illustration of their merged form. Alright, so spoilers for me, I have not played it on Expert, so I've not seen this. It does look like a moth, for sure, so maybe that's what they're supposed to be, or butterflies. There's some butterflies. It's kind of hard to distinguish them for me, actually, but there's some insects of some type floating in the background. I haven't played on Expert. I've been playing on Standard. I've put all my spare wings into Standard the past 2 weeks, just very slowly grinding up my tree, and I actually completed my tree just yesterday, so I may check out Expert in the next couple days here just to do a first clear of it and have that done with, but I'm definitely going to do it on solo, or in single player rather. The Rhythmic Resolutions facility event adds a new song, Bond Fever. The song is reminiscent of a Bond dance, and there's also a pretty cool arrangement of it. This song was sung by Seikan, performing as Marvelous Naoto. So let's talk about several of these things. We have the Gala, we have Rhythmic Resolutions, we have Agito Battle. I guess let's start with Rhythmic Resolutions since it features some of the characters who are on the Gala. So I'll pop into Rhythmic Resolutions so we can get some of the nice background music. The music and the landscape illustrations were actually two of the things I liked the most about this event. I have to admit, even though I changed the voice acting to Japanese, I just wasn't a huge Catherine fan. I really felt like she was coming from a place of entitlement. I don't really know what role her lineage played in her becoming the de facto mayor of Quinbell, but to me it felt like the whole point of the festival was just to glorify and extol herself, not about the happiness of her people. So toward the end of the event, we did get a little bit of character development with her about her childhood trauma and being raised in the shadow of such an affluent family, but I really didn't like her that much despite that, and I have to say I felt the same way about Eugene. I felt like despite being kind of an introvert and looking upon Catherine with a mix of envy and disdain, I feel like Eugene just didn't process his emotions very well. He didn't really react in a productive and mature manner the way that he disparaged and hated on Catherine. So I wasn't really pleased with either of these characters. And then when they did their Bond dance, I do like how the story was developed and their past was presented through the dance. I thought that was a beautiful cut. However, having said that, toward the beginning of the event, we hear from Becky or Sandy, I don't remember, that the Bond dance is a solo performance, so it was weird for the Bone dance to be like a collaborative performance once Naoto showed up. Having said that, I think that Becky and Sandy were pretty great characters. I would also like to applaud Styx, but only in the cute form, not in the mature form, and the villainous Styxes, I already forget what they're called. Really did not like those. I feel like their behavior was totally inappropriate. Other than that, with this event, the one big exciting moment had to be at the very end when we get the reveal that Naoto actually works or serves under Seimei, who, if you remember, if you've played the New Year's event, Seimei is the leader of the Ox clan who was missing from Amaterasu's council, said to be wandering. Nobody knew where they were. So we get a second reference to Seimei there. And other than that, I don't think this event was particularly exciting, unfortunately. I like the artwork. I like some aspects about it. I do like how, Eugenio's rolling a d20 or whatever. That was kind of funny, but otherwise, not for me this time around. Having said that, the treasure trade took a long time to get through. I played through this very, very slowly and deliberately, so now all I have to do are finish a few things to get to 1 million, and along the way I'll collect my rainbow orbs. So at the very least, I was able to milk this for the entire event duration, and I think I'll end up a little bit over 1 million, so have a couple endeavors left, but slow and steady on this one has really worked out. And the free worm print you get from it with 8% critical rate isn't too bad either. Not to mention, if you go here to the worm print shop, we got some okay, but really nice artwork prints. So not particularly effective, except if you want to be a collector like myself and get all these prints, in which case you should use them for the festival spirit. But this print with Yaten and Natalie, I do really like the artwork on. Unfortunately, they did not make an appearance in the event, but at least Yaten got some lip service about him being busy, so he couldn't be in attendance in the Bone Festival. And this one of Botan is just really beautiful artwork. So I do like these prints. I grabbed these, and I like the prints from the event itself. But the event really wasn't my jam, at least this time around. Music and artwork, yes, but characters and story, no. So having said that, when I went into the gala, my feelings on the gala were, alright, Cat Sith looks insane. The other characters, I don't really like them. I don't really want them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. But they're here, and it's better for me that they're here as opposed to that focus rate just being on random stuff. The chances are with that random stuff, I probably already have it, and I'm just going to get dupes. So just keep in mind that having extra focused characters does not diminish your chances in this game compared to how galas are normally set up. When in the past we had galas, all of that appearance rate that would have gone to Eugene, Catherine, and Styx would have just been on off-focus characters. It wouldn't have gone toward Gala Cat Sith. So remember that. Having extra things doesn't hurt you, but it does mean that your pity breakers are less likely to be random stuff and more likely to be these other, in this case, 2 adventurers and 1 dragon. So that's the mindset I went into this gala with, and I actually did a good amount of summoning here. I summoned until I got Gala Cat Sith. After experiencing how powerful Gala Mars was, I decided I would rather lock in a Gala Cat Sith than wait until, say, the anniversary and have a chance at getting her, but not necessarily have her, particularly as Shadow is one of the strongest elements to begin with, so likely this investment in Gala Cat Sith could pay dividends no matter what element content I was doing. So I decided to go ahead and go for her, and I will share my results shortly. But basically, Gala Cat Sith is kind of like an insane shinobi with a little bit of caveat, but one that's not so hard to meet that you would prefer shinobi over her. So instead of doing an extra 90% on skill damage, she does 180%, but it only works on your next 8 skills. However, every time you have a 25 hit combo or more, well, basically, it only works on the first 15 skills. Every time you have a 25 hit combo or more, then you get an additional stack of that 180% skill damage buff, and you can stack up to 15 of those. So as you use them, if you're getting these 25 hit combos, you can steadily refill it. I think it works out so that you would never really be down on these. The 8 that I referred to is that also when her shapeshift ends, you're going to refill 8 of these skill charge uses, so 180% skill damage buffs essentially. And I think it only counts as like one buff, or it may not even be visible. I haven't even played with her yet, so I really can't speak to that. But frankly, just having 180% skill damage is pretty insane. Shinobi has 20% strength and 90% skill damage. That's also good, but this is better on a lot of Shadow Adventurers who primarily deal their damage through skills. So yeah, she's a great dragon, fantastic. It seems like, I think her skill's okay. I mean, I don't really know about her dragon form. It doesn't really matter too much because Skillful Trickery 2 is just very, very strong. So she was the one reason to really pull on that banner, other than it just being a Gala, so a high value banner to begin with. Let's take a look at Styx, as Styx was a big disappointment in my opinion. Styx, not a very good dragon, not a reason to summon. So the way Styx works is on a water adventurer, it increases the damage of the next attack skill by 50% for 15 seconds, every 15 seconds that pass. This buff can stack up to 4 times. All stacks will be lost upon using an attack skill. So essentially, you're getting no strength, you're getting no HP at a baseline here. You're actually not getting anything, I believe, until 15 seconds pass in a match. So it's kind of like a waste of a dragon slot for what may be a good chunk of a match. I mean, from what I'm hearing, some of these Agito battles now last 16, 17 seconds, so 15 obviously the vast majority of that, you're basically getting nothing. You would never want a dragon like this in that scenario. And even in a longer match, waiting to use any attack skill until you've stacked this up 4 times just seems really bad. So unfortunately, I don't think Styx is a very good dragon. The one use case that you can think of is, let's say characters who have really all-in powerful skills. Think of Crom here, right? When you make your Awakened Ether deal a ton of damage through lots of setup. Problem in Crom's case is his first skill, I believe, also does damage, so it wouldn't even work. Obviously, he's a flame unit, so this is just like a hypothetical example here. But what I'm saying is you want a character of that type who really goes all in on a particular skill. Now, I think from what I've seen, Catherine and Eugene kind of work like that, but not so much that Styx is actually justified on them. And then for Styx's skill, she's going to gain additional hits and deal extra damage based on the number of Ice Spirit stacks she has, which are gained through normal attacks and can be stacked up to 3 times. All Ice Spirit stacks are consumed when the user uses this skill or when the shapeshift is undone. Just not a very good dragon. This was the dragon that was pity-breaking and disappointing a lot of people who were going for Gala Cat Sith. Let's talk about Eugene. Eugene, pretty interesting character here. So, signature tactics, buff zone that lasts for 10 seconds and activates skill shift. Phase 1, increase the strength of adventurers inside the buff zone by 20%. Phase 2, you get the 20% strength buff, but also flame resistance buff of 8%. And Phase 3, you get the strength buff, the flame resistance buff, and 20% modifier to critical damage. And the user gets the check effect and immediately readies the checkmate skill for use. The checkmate skill can only be used when the user has the check effect, and the check effect can be stored up to a maximum of 2 times. So checkmate deals water damage to enemies directly ahead. This skill can only be used when the user has the check effect, and using it will consume 1 check. Apparently when you share this, the whole check thing doesn't matter. It's just a pure damage skill with a pretty high damage modifier. And basically that is the gist of Eugene's kit. You're trying to set up a checkmate, it does a lot of damage. However, I think just because of the amount of time you spend casting these buffs versus actually using checkmates, I believe most, or at least a plurality of his damage, probably comes from team buffs, and then checkmate is the biggest source of skill damage that he has. His co-ability is Dragon Haste, pretty standard stuff, and then he has Dragon's Claws. So this looks identical to what we have on Summer Celiera, another water sword. Abilities are critical hit equals inspiration level up 2. It's pretty rare to see inspiration on an ability, so it's kind of nice, but on Eugene, it's especially relevant because he only has 1 outlet built in as far as the damage dealing skill goes. So this making his checkmate a guaranteed critical hit is kind of good here. And then stun res 100%, HP 70% equals defense plus 13%. Kind of, I guess, designed to be a tactical character where you're setting up buffs using signature tactics. Seems like a pretty cool design. However, I haven't really played with him. I don't know a lot about him, so I can't really speak to it. He seems to be strong to medium as far as water characters go, better than a lot of characters who haven't gotten mana spirals, pretty similar in power to some of the ones who have. Now let's talk about Catherine. Did you espy a glimpse of these perfect curls? Alright, so Catherine obviously has the ringlets there in pink. Beck and Call increases the user's strength by 20% for 10 seconds and grants the user the perfect escort effect. The perfection embodied ability buffs the user based on the number of perfect escort stacks they have, up to a maximum of 3 stacks. Alright, so perfect order. Deals water damage to the target and nearby enemies. Damage will be increased based on the number of perfect escort stacks the user has. Using the skill will consume all perfect escort stacks. So basically you're going to buff her own strength repeatedly, I guess 3 times in a row, get 3 stacks of perfect escort, and then use perfect order, which should do a lot of damage. Again, like Eugene, she only has this one outlet as far as the skill damage skill. Her co-ability is HP, and her chain co-ability is hits above 10% equals strength plus 13%. Pretty good. This is also seen on Xander, so if you don't want Xander's main ability of Dragon Haste, then would prefer to have some extra HP. I suppose it's not a bad chain co-ability combination. You see this in other elements like Halloween Elisand has the same thing here for light. Perfection Embodied 2 buffs the user standard attacks, force strikes, and the perfect order skill based on the number of perfect escort stacks they have. In addition, they will be immune to knockback, and all elementally tuned damage they take will be reduced by 10% as long as they have at least 1 stack, but they will lose 1 stack each time they take damage. Interesting, so she also has stun res and then skill damage plus 30%. So you have to be a perfectionist, I guess, if you want to play her well. You want to use your Beck and Call to power up perfect order, but if you take damage, you're going to lose perfect escort stacks. So it seems like Catherine plays out in kind of a fun way. Kind of reminds me of Kirsty, but Kirsty caring about getting knocked down and Catherine just caring about getting hit at all. It's nice in some sense that it reduces the damage you take though, so there's kind of a pretty good fail case compared to like a full HP ability where it's either on or off, and when it's off, there's no compensation for you or no benefit to you. So I've also heard that her perfect order does a lot of hits. I really don't know a lot about that, can't speak on that, but both of these characters ended up being really solid, like stronger water characters, but similar in power to some of the mana spiraled characters and even the pre-mana spiraled more recent characters like Mitsuba or Valerio. So nothing particularly exceptional, but strong nonetheless. And if you happen to pick those up while you're going for Gala Cat Sith, that was probably a good thing. It's nice to have them in your collection. And that's what happened to me. So I only have about 30,000 Wormite left. I have this many summon vouchers. I pretty much went all in trying to get Gala Cat Sith, but luckily only spent about 10 to 12k Wormite, and then all my vouchers, and finally got her. Along the way, got several copies of Eugene, got a Catherine, and also got Jiangxia, which was new for me, and then 2 copies of Styx, just some random 5-star dragons as well, some junkers, unfortunately, nothing like I was super excited about. But I just wanted that one Gala Cat Sith because I figured I could use her for lots of content with her being Shadow Element, and I did miss out on Gala Mars. Seemed like the right thing to do at the time. We'll see if it works out when we get our summer banner coming up. Okay, so we've talked about the event, now we've talked about Gala. Let's continue with this month in Dragalia Lost. There's a few big topics left and a few teasers or morsels of what's to come. So, that's the event, that's the Gala. For Agito, I'll just say that I have not played Expert yet. Let me show you. I've only played Standard, and I just got my tree unlocked yesterday, so I've really been slow rolling things here. I have enjoyed Standard, but it goes by so fast. I really have no context for what the actual effects of these characters do. I'm definitely going to go for my first clear of Expert eventually, but I felt no rush with this particular Agito. I want to take some time with it, and I'll probably do a solo clear for my first clear in Expert and then just not play Expert for a while, maybe not until Master comes out. I still have a lot to clear with the other Agitos, to be honest, so that's the main reason why I haven't really dived into this one in particular. Alright, so that's enough about Agito. I don't think I can really provide more detail or context since I haven't played it. Then, let's get into Halloween Elisand's Mana Spiral. So thank you all for the feedback you sent since we unlocked Halloween Elisand's Mana Spiral on June 18th. We're considering readjustments for Halloween Elisand based on this feedback, taking into consideration the balance with other adventurers whose Mana Spirals have been unlocked. I apologize for the wait, but please be patient while we finalize these adjustments. Once the adjustments have been finalized, we'll share more information via notifications. Alright, so people who are really disappointed about this, I hope that this placates you somewhat. Honestly, I was not disappointed with Halloween Elisand, but I'm also not a fan of the character of Elisand, or her Halloween variant in particular. This was a character I loved playing as when I first started the game because it was one of my first 5 stars and she felt so special with her skill shift, but as time has gone on, I just have not had too much of an interest in Halloween Elisand, so I really had no opinion on her Mana Spiral. For me, as long as your DPS is going up, it's not really a failure of the Mana Spiral, but in my perfect world, of course, I feel like all Mana Spirals should be customized and should feel very flavorful and specific to the character. Unfortunately, I've just felt that the reality is that most Mana Spirals are not like that. So in the past, I've harped on this a lot already, so I won't get into it, but like, I have been disappointed in Mana Spirals where they just add an affliction or whatever, and just call it a day, essentially raise the damage modifiers, because I feel like they're very boring. Having said that, I just don't think that Halloween Elisand seemed like a particular travesty to me in the way that it seemed to enrage and excite so many people. So to me, looking at like several Mana Spirals that weren't 5-star limited characters, we could make the same case that they weren't very good. But with Halloween Elisand, I think enough people spoke up that they decided to do something. So hopefully if you are a Halloween Elisand stan, it works out for you. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Plans for this month will unlock Mana Spirals for the following Water-attuned adventurers on July 2nd, so this has already happened. Zardin, Ricard, Karina, Luther, Xander, and Lily. So without getting into too much detail here, Karina, Xander, Lily, and then to a lesser extent Luther and Zardin all seem to be pretty strong after this. I understand Karina to be used in some pretty popular cheese comps of experts Ayaha and Atoha. I think Lily is also quite good now. Xander, I think, is also quite good, but his playstyle changed a lot. And Luther just seems to have gotten kind of like the Sufang treatment of like pretty good. Same with Zardin. And then Ricard as a healer. They gave him burn recovery, which is kind of nice. But I haven't seen whether or not healers are used in Expert Agito for Flame, so I can't say whether he's actually relevant or not. I'll probably use a healer in my solo clear, I would imagine, but maybe not. We'll see. I have no idea. Let's see if there's any other details on their Mana Spiral page, and then we'll hop back. Just in case we missed anything. Yeah, so Xander's playstyle changed in such a way that he gets stacks of Born Ruler, but he spins them, I think, when he uses 4 strikes. So it's kind of weird whether you want to accumulate them as visible buffs for his first skill or use them on 4 strikes. He also causes Frostbite now because Affliction, so yeah, that's a thing. And Lily causes Frostbite. I think her Glacial Blossom pretty good in the Agito battle because Freeze and Frostbite are relevant. Frozen Gale. This seems like a pretty nice upgrade for this, and I haven't checked whether any of your frame data is different or anything like that, but the fact that the area of effect increases is really nice on this, because that was one of the big weaknesses. This was like a melee skill on a ranged character, and she also gets a personal buff, which is kind of cool, Crystallian Princess, which is going to increase her standard attack damage, and give her extra damage against frostbitten enemies, so it kind of makes her into a mini Pipple, actually. Lily seems like she was done justice, I feel. Even though she doesn't have a unique effect, at least she gets Crystallian Princess. That's kind of cool. And Karina is definitely the one I was most excited for as an Axe user myself. So she gets Frostbite, pretty standard stuff. She didn't actually get that much more damage on her Raging Tide, I don't think. But the base damage on this skill is sort of deceptive because every buff you have increases the skill damage dealt. And then Black Flag. Now it gives her a defense buff, a strong defense buff of 30% for 30 seconds, good amount, long duration, and it actually works pretty well because it lets her trigger her own healing double buff. And also, her skill prep going up to 100% and having skill charge, I think it's actually quite nice. Like, skill charge in this Gaibne and Krydne skill share world, that 5%, or with Gaibne and Krydne even more, of refilling your skills actually seems pretty respectable. So I like the skill charge on her. Luther, Frostbite, I think his debuff on Terpsichore is probably guaranteed now. Flurry Devastation, Passionate Dancer. So he actually did get a named skill or named ability in this case. It still provides the same Striker Strength effect, but also activates Passionate Dancer every time one of his attacks is a critical hit. When this effect is active, the user's next Force Strike will inflict Frostbite. This cannot stack and will be consumed on use. After activating, Passionate Dancer will not activate again for 10 seconds. So unfortunately, there's just too much Frostbite redundancy now. All these characters do Frostbite. Frostbite is one of the longest lasting afflictions. It's just too much Frostbite, I think, on this Passionate Dancer. Zardan, Frostbite. Yep, just Frostbite. And then Ricard, poor Ricard, with his high SP costs. His SP costs appear to have stayed high, but he does get to at least Cleanse Burn. And they turned his first ability into something cool because it now gives recovery potency as well as defense at full HP. It used to just give defense. But yeah, Mana Sparrows, all pretty respectable. All of these water characters are like have moved toward the top of the list as far as simulated water DPS or whatever, but I can't speak to their meta role right now until I do a little catching up. So, a defensive event will start in mid-July. Let's move on to this. Defensive events progressed in a similar manner to the Onslaught event held last month, but it'll be possible to play co-op in the defensive battle quest during the defensive event. We have also adjusted things like enemy position for defensive battle quests, making it possible for players to divide up the task of defeating enemies and complete the quest more efficiently. In the previous Onslaught event, many players quit playing without completing it, possibly because it was necessary to repeat quests of every difficulty level. This time around, we smoothed out the quest progression and adjusted the balance to make it easier to obtain battle charts. The theme of the story is summer vacation, and it'll feature new summer adventures, so I hope you enjoy it. Alright, this is a little bit odd because my perception was that the defensive events would be different than the Onslaught events, but the way that they're kind of comparing them here almost sort of conflates them and makes them sound like they are essentially structured in the same way. I really hope this actually has the defensive battle maps from Fire Emblem and not the maps of this Onslaught event, which were more like the Repel the Empire maps of Fire Emblem. I mean, they don't mention anything about a dragon mode here. We're going to know more about this in a few days' time. Presumably this will start up right after Rhythmic Resolution ends, or a little bit later, since that will be about mid-July. But we're going to know more on this soon. I don't really understand why they compare it to the previous Onslaught event, but I do appreciate them giving lip service or giving acknowledgement to the fact that players really didn't like that event too much. So, especially the progression aspect of it. The fact that it'll be easier to obtain battle charts makes me think that the structure of defensive battle mode will be similar to Onslaught, where we're going to use battle charts, we're probably going to use stratagems and War Chronicles. So we'll see. We'll see just what this is like, but might be another Defend the Halidom type scenario. But the theme is summer vacation, so we'll have new summer adventures. That'll probably be enough to hopefully win people over. And as long as the gameplay is still about as fun as in the previous defensive battles, I won't mind this event. Hopefully it's not too grindy. Then we find out about some old events coming back. So in mid-July, we're getting Hunt for Harmony in the event compendium. Then in late July, we're getting Splash of Adventure. The story for the Splash of Adventure raid event is connected to the Crescendo of Courage facility event, and they're reviving Crescendo of Courage in late August. So funny that they didn't save that for this month in Dragalia Lost for August, but I think they wanted to tell us, since the stories are connected, just to make sure that we know, hey, we're eventually going to find out the end of Siren's story in a Crescendo of Courage. Okay, Additionally, at the end of July, we'll add Master Difficulty to the light attuned boss, Kaiyan, in the Agito Uprising. That's fine with me. I guess I will probably grind out. I have all the tier 1 weapons. I'll probably get them to tier 2, but I haven't really felt that much motivation on the endgame content lately. It seems like we got this explosion of different projects and tasks to work on, partially because of the Dragalia level expansion. That is just a very time-consuming activity, so I haven't felt a lot of motivation like to grind out expert Agitos lately. I've just been playing weekly, kind of the minimum amount, and everything else just throwing at the high dragon so I can get my Dragalias, because those are just going to take a long time to do. So I'm not sure I'll really prioritize this, but if it's hard, I might do it early just to try to get one weapon so I can more easily grind it in the future. We'll see how difficult they make it. For future updates, in a future update, we'll adjust the axe, bow, wand, and staff weapon types to make their 4 strikes easier to use. These weapon types take a long time to charge their 4 strikes, and the users are sometimes attacked while charging, so we're currently adjusting them to be able to charge and release their 4 strikes while moving. We'll also adjust the 4 strike charge speed and power for some of them. We'll share more information about this in a future update notification. We've seen a particularly large amount of reactions to a new ally who joins in Chapter 14 of the main campaign. We'll add an interlude to Chapter 14 in late July, and we'll add Chapter 15 in mid-August. Nice. Mid-August, a little early. So please look forward to these additions. I'm very excited about the interlude and the next chapter, and one of the reasons why is actually coming up. A shadow-attuned boss will be added to the Agito Uprising at the end of August. It's not the character that we were presented with in the story that found Zethia. So, who is this mysterious Shadow Agito character, and who was that character from the story chapter? That has me excited, since I assumed that that was the leader and Shadow Element Agito character that we saw in Chapter 14. So since it's not, we have a surprise character appearing here. He looks awesome, or they look awesome. I guess I can't really tell, can't make out who they are or what they may be. But yeah, pretty cool armor, that's for sure. So looking forward to checking out the Shadow-attuned boss. As far as Ayaha and Totoha, with a little story about their personality, not my favorite Agito, but I can see why people might like them. Their whole insistence on freedom and argument with Mascula and Lakshi was okay, but this character looks like it could be Volk caliber, in my opinion, so we'll see. Alright, in conclusion, we're giving all players the following items this month. We got some Blessed Ethon Ashes, Summon Vouchers, and Sunlight Ores. The next installment is going to be posted around August 1st, 2020. And I guess that is it for this month in Dragalia Lost. So this has been an overview of what's to come for the rest of July. We really have that defensive battles event to look forward to as far as new content, and a lot of what else was mentioned here has already happened or is in the works right now, like the Halloween Alley Mana Spiral rework. Hope you've enjoyed this kind of catch-up video. It's been a while since I checked in on Dragalia Lost, so I figured I'd start with this month in Dragalia Lost and maybe bring you some Agito battle when I'm able to get my first clear sometime later this week or next week. Otherwise, stay tuned. Whenever we get a new banner or we get the new event, I will make a video on that. But that is going to do it for today, everyone. Thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.